Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Recruit Military Live, where we will be discussing your career success and triumph after the military. And one of the keys to that is mastering your networking capabilities. My name is Gabby Petticrew, and I'm joined today by my amazing co-host, Raul Torres. How's it going your way, Raul?
Hey, Gabby. Good morning, everyone. Great to be here today, especially knowing the guest that we have on today is a Devil Dog. Fantastic leader, fantastic person, and someone I personally work very closely with at our in-person job fairs. So I'm super excited for everyone just to hear his insight about networking. Our guest today is the Assistant National Employment Director at DAV. For over 11 years, he served in several capacities at Disabled American Veterans, guiding military community families to resources that lead them to live better and more fulfilling lives. With over 5 years of leadership experience in the United States Marine Corps, he understands the challenges and opportunities that our military community face in their personal and professional lives. You'll likely see him at several DAV Recruit Military job fairs right alongside myself, informing military community job seekers about their entitled resources and ways they can find meaningful careers post-military. So without further ado, please join us in giving a warm welcome to our guest, Jeremy Yost. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you for having me today. And I look forward to talking about this and helping out our fellow veterans and spouses on finding employment and using that network to help do that.
Yeah, and we know for sure, and it's been a topic for multiple of our past lives, that one major key to a successful transition, not only transitioning out, but to a successful career, is networking. And there are countless avenues that we've discussed that you can approach networking. And one of my favorites, and that seemed to pay off for me, and I think we can all attest to, is networking with your military community while you are still in service, whatever that service may be, whatever branch that may be. And I know like one story that I've told multiple times is my very first job and contract position on the same base that I had transitioned out of was through a fluke, just like passerby type of networking situation. It was a photographer that happened to be in the military a few years prior to me, held my same MOS, my same job position, and was soon after going to be relocating from North Carolina to Texas. And we just, exchanged some information after she had taken photos. And lo and behold, a few months later, COVID had happened. So not only was it stressful enough to be in the job, search journey, being a mom of two toddlers, one who was 3 months old, already stressful enough. And then you have COVID on top of that, having that connection. She knew me just from simple conversation of her taking family photos for myself and my family, had me in mind still for that position that she was going to be leaving. And that ended up going right into my very first job. So that for me is a personal, like I can attest to being connected to your network while you are still in. I don't know if you guys have any personal stories about that.
Yeah. When I was getting out of the Marine Corps back in 2011, I originally went back to school to become a motorcycle tech. And during that process, I was going through VR&E to try to get help with finding employment, but also helping with paying for the tools because it is very expensive to start that. And during that process, they found out that I could not continue in that path with motorcycle techs due to the injuries that I sustained in service, but was ultimately able to help me with their network with the Disabled American Veterans who I've worked with for the last 11 years. Get employment with them where I'm able to help out my fellow veterans on a daily basis. And if they didn't have that network with DAV and other organizations like ours, I would have possibly never found this opportunity that I had.
Yeah, and I love how so I got out of the Marine Corps during COVID. I'm like listening to you guys' like stories. They sound like they're kind of more in person. I feel like when I got out, it was more transitioning into the digital space of like networking and like the LinkedIns of the world. I remember getting out, I was like trying to figure out who to connect with. And there was no one to connect with because no one was outside meeting in person. So I know a few of the places I connected with fellow Marines, fellow service members was through Veterati starting out, which was very great for me. But I do have to say, the digital space has really expanded like the networking capabilities, because now
Mhm.
I currently live in Dallas, or right outside of Dallas. I'm in Texas, and I'm still able to connect with individuals that, were in the DMV area, the Washington D.C. area, where I transitioned from, or I can connect, with somebody in Seattle or somebody across the globe who has a similar experience to me, or maybe, what networking is all about, just helping each other out. So I feel like LinkedIn is obviously another huge avenue that I'm pretty sure all three of us utilize today. And it's funny because my wife is actually working on her resume. She's looking at a job. I took that time to like look at my LinkedIn to see like where I was at with networking wise. But what about you guys? Are you like big on LinkedIn? I know obviously you are, Gabby. You do that with us.
Yeah, I think for our return guests that have seen a few episodes of ours, they're tired of me telling the story. But I got this position because when I finished my last contract, I was back into the job search and realized I hadn't been on my LinkedIn account for maybe 2 years. So I was up there refreshing it. And then after I'd updated everything, was just scrolling through my LinkedIn timeline, and I'd seen Raul's post about the position I currently hold. It was a new position to the organization. And I think, like I've mentioned before, I had just extreme imposter syndrome, and had seen that post where he had posted the position had just gained so much attention, already had so many comments. Then I'm cyber stalking the people that had said that they threw their hat in the ring. And I was like, I feel like I hold not even a candle light to, whatever they're bringing to the table, but threw my name in regardless. And lo and behold, here I am. So that was all from not only knowing Raul and having that connection from us serving in the same, branch of service, the same unit, the same team, knowing each other while still active duty, but also having that connection online. So it just goes to show that you need to hold on to those connections, because the ones that you make in person, the ones where that you get that one-on-one FaceTime with that other service member, and then carry that relationship into the online, networks, LinkedIn being, I think, the most favorable one, really can pay off in ways that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah. I use LinkedIn every day to provide the information on where we're going to be at for our job fairs for that week. Any tips and tricks on helping you with the jobs, and also networking. Also with LinkedIn, I use that premium account because if you're an active duty member and you're going to become a veteran, you get that 1 year of premium service where you can use that to really boost your network before you fully get off of active duty, or during that first year that you're off of active duty, to make sure that you can find that job in that particular field that you're looking for. So LinkedIn is definitely one of the primary things that we use on a daily basis now to be able to help individuals find employment, but also to provide those networks with all those recruiters out there. If we don't have a position, we can pass them off to the right people, and that's how we make sure that we can continue that process. But LinkedIn's on my computer right now, and I see it every single day, and it ultimately helps us do the job that we're doing.
100%. And you just mentioned, Jeremy, this is actually how we met, ladies and gentlemen, at in-person DAV Recruit Military job fairs. Jeremy's there, not at every single event alongside me, but a lot of them. And what we do for in-person job fairs, I mean, at our job fairs, we tell the job seekers, the veterans, the spouses that when you leave here today, please make sure to get like the LinkedIn or like the follow-up information for those representatives that you're talking to, because that network after the event, after you shake someone's hand in person, that's so crucial, because you do not know, even though that person, maybe that company representative might not have a job for you that day, or maybe ever. They might know someone else who's hiring, another recruiter who just, has an open position, and maybe the person who you met at the job fair and added through LinkedIn and just kind of built that connection and maintained it, they might be able to transition you over to that other company who's hiring for what you want. You see a lot of that, Jeremy, in your conversations with job seekers or companies at our job fairs?
Yeah, definitely. When it comes to employers, if they don't find that position, they're really wanting to help that veteran find a position, even if it's not with the company. So we see it all the time, working together and be like, well, I don't have a position in construction, but if you go over to this company, they might, or I don't have I need a position in IT, and they'll move them over. And when we're talking to clients, we're telling them to talk to every single company while we're there, because you don't know what type of jobs they have, but also it provides building that network with all those different companies. And then your name is coming out, and you might fit in a position that you didn't even talk to a company that's even at the event, but they're like, well, you talk to, let's say, DAV, and the other company's like, well, DAV doesn't have that position, but I know a company that wasn't even at the job fair that has a perfect position for you in that IT field. I'm going to send your information over to them to help them find that employment.
Yeah, and one thing about job fairs and events in person, or just being even an online event where you're still able to get that face-to-face, it makes a world of difference. I know multiple friends now that have attended our DAV RecruitMilitary job fairs in person, and they can attest to the fact that you can submit your resume online, through the job boards, and that's great. But having that personal conversation, that one-on-one, where they get a feel for your personality, for, the work ethic, just through how you talk, your passion, your commitment to what you do, and just having that conversation really can put you above the rest. So even though you may be wary of going to these job fairs and thinking they're all the same. First of all, our job fairs are not all the same, where we bring the top, employers of the nation that are there specifically to gain an amazing member to their team from the military community, because they know what the military community brings to the table. And having those conversations with those representatives from those employers face to face makes a world of difference. So if you haven't been to one, if you're thinking about going one, whether it's online, I think we have one online next week, and we have a Phoenix event tomorrow that I think Jeremy will be at. I may be making a stop there as well. Do it. I'm telling you, those job fairs, those career fairs, those online career fairs really make a world of difference when you just show up and show face.
And I do want to add, because a lot of people don't really think about it, but we do have virtual career fairs as well. Mm-hmm. Those are super important. And I know personally they are super important, because that's how I got my job. I was transitioning out 2020, signed up for a job fair, wasn't really sure what RecruitMilitary was. I think I might have signed on for 20 minutes. I was like really busy that day. And the next day I got a phone call from one of the sales team members, because they were adding a new sales team, and I just asked about the marketing position, and they transferred me right over to marketing. So that's kind of how it worked with me. So if you are on the fence, or you live really far from an in-person job fair, it just doesn't make sense, too far of a drive, you got to fly in or something crazy like that, please be sure to look at just the schedule on recruitmilitary.com and take a look at those virtual job fairs, because those are super important as well. But I do want to bring up another topic, because obviously we all have, the GI Bill, we all have benefits after we get out of the military, right? Networking in college. I went to college before I should have done it the other way around, right? So I could have got everything paid off. I went to college first, then I enlisted. But I have to say, maybe it's just because I was too young, didn't know any better. But a big part of going to college is your network, right? I went to a state university in New York, and either way, there was good networking opportunities. And I know, because I looked on LinkedIn now and I see some of the alumni and what positions they're at. So networking would have been a major key for me, but that's something I didn't do. I don't know if that's something, Jeremy, you have any experience with personally, or know through your DAV connections, how networking works in the college world.
Gotcha. So, in my personal experience, I'm actually going through college right now. So, I'm working through that right now and building my network through the college that I'm currently attending. But when it comes to veterans that we work with on a daily basis with DAV, we see a lot of individuals that are going to college also working with the veteran communities on campus. They are also looking at networking, not just with veterans, but also with the community. They're also going to their chamber of commerce to go in the local area as well to build that network. And they're learning this while they're going to college. If you go to one of the veterans offices on campus, they usually have somebody that can help you build your network there, to include resume writing amongst other things. But they always have that additional resource for you to make sure that you're successful with that college degree that you're getting from that university or technical school.
Yeah, and college is fantastic place. Obviously, LinkedIn is great, in-person, virtual job fairs. But as a DAV representative, like, what do you guys offer as far as obviously you do claims, you do benefits, but tell us a little bit more about just networking opportunities that you guys provide outside of the job fairs that you guys are alongside of.
Yeah. So, like Raul was saying, one of the main things that DAV is known for is helping with disability claims. We're a free service. We'll be more than happy to help you. But when it comes to networking, we're over 1 million members strong. And we use that to help change legislation in front of Congress and the Senate. But we also do that to build our network with the individuals that we need to help support veterans in any way, shape, or form that we can. Now, we're also doing that with helping veterans get with the additional education to help them build with their education, but also building their network that way and helping them find employment through our network in the DAV employment department. Now, when it comes to additional networks, we have different chapters across the country that you can work with your local communities to build even in a smaller area or a larger area with our national side as well.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. If you haven't figured your claim out, if you're still transitioning, trust me. Pick up the phone, look up what your local DAV office is, or go on DAV's website. Please look them up. And I personally know because I was almost a year removed out from my EAS date. And what's crazy is I was working alongside DAV the entire time, and I'm, still lagging behind on my claim, and they were able to figure it out for me, and they took care of me. So do yourself that favor, even if you've already gotten out. If you don't have, answers to those questions, or even if you do, please make sure to reach out.
Yeah, I wish that was definitely a tool that I had used. I think I'd heard, obviously, DAV being as pronounced as they are. They didn't occur to me to reach out to that resource and see what they had, what tools they had to offer. But knowing, who they are and what they're all about now, definitely don't overlook DAV, because they're there for the military community.
It's very simple too. Just go on to DAV.org. You can search through all the different resources that we have. If you have any questions, we have a way that you can contact any one of our departments. We're more than happy to go over any questions with you. Again, we're a free service. We have an office in every single state, including Puerto Rico. And we also have an office that takes care of any individual that's outside the United States as well. So we have somebody there for you that can help you through the process. We know how hard it is. I did it for 10 and a half years. I enjoyed helping veterans with their disability claims. It is a struggling thing to work with, especially with all the ever-growing changes like the new PACT Act. So make sure if you have any questions, again, we're more than happy to help you for free. We're never going to ask for a dime. We're looking forward to helping you in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, they recognize, as well as we do, everything that you committed to your service and all that you gave. And now that it's our time to give back, these resources are here for you, completely free of cost. And I did see we had a question, Javante Johnson, where you can find all the job fairs. And Anthony, one of our amazing RecruitMilitary members, thank you for answering that. And you can simply go to myrecruitmilitary.com/events, and that will list every single job fair that we have, both virtual and in person. So, we know, of course, that not everyone is going to be located near a major city. That's what our virtual career fairs are for. Sometimes they're broken down by industry or by region or national. So please feel free to go online, find whichever one works best for you. We're here for you.
Yeah. So while people are asking questions, please reach out if you have any questions about our conversation today about DAV. But I wanted to ask you, Jeremy, obviously I'm working alongside you at these in-person events, but what questions do you hear the most? Like when you're on site at a DAV Recruit Military event and someone comes up to you, a veteran, a spouse, what are you hearing from the job seekers at our in-person events? What are the hot topics, the questions that come up the most?
Well, a lot of times when they're coming to me, it's about helping with their benefits. They don't know how the process is, or they're looking for educational benefits for them and their families. But when it comes to events, when they're not asking us on our services, is who's at the event, which we always try to tell them, hey, go to the front desk and you can look at the entire list, or go onto the website and see the entire list before you go to the event. We try to tell individuals that, so then you can prep for the event before you even get there. Another thing that we get a lot of questions on is, what should I say when I get to in front of these employers? And a lot of times, Recruit Military has already provided that, is that 30-second elevator pitch. Making sure that you have the information so you can provide them a little bit about yourself and how you're going to help out their organization or their company. That helps out tremendously on getting that job or getting that person to remember you when it comes time for them to relook at your resume after the event. Those are the main questions that we're getting outside of the ones that we can help out with.
And I think one major piece of advice, and it's something that I know that I hear from every single Recruit Military representative while there, and it's something that our event directors preach during that opening kickoff speech, is many individuals will come, they will go online, view the employers that are there, and go for the big names, PepsiCo, Boeing, USAA, and they'll beeline towards them, do the whole spiel, and then take off. No, don't do that. So, we have sometimes over 70, close to 90 employers there, and you would be doing yourself a huge disservice if you didn't go around, you're there, take the time to go and speak to everyone, because you never know what one handshake with one random employer will lead to down the road. And again, if just looking at this as, an employment and a career fair, you're here to get a job, yes, for sure. But this is also a networking event. This is you opening the door to conversations to all different employers from all different industries. And you never know what the skill sets that you bring, because you worked in the aviation field, how those skill sets can also match in any other field, in the logistics field. So if you're at an event, whether virtual or in person, don't just go there for the big names that you're interested in. For sure, knock those out. Or one of my close friends who attended a job fair in person was very nervous, and we understand that it's a whole new ball game, getting out and speaking to people who aren't in the military, or you just feel out of place. We get that. I was there as well. If you want, go and speak to some organizations that are smaller, maybe that you just wouldn't fit in, and get your elevator pitch practicing, get it out of the way, get those tongue twisters out of the way, get it smoothed out, all the wrinkles, so that way when you do go up to bat with the organizations that you for sure are interested in and want to be put together, use that as some practice going through. So that's just some piece of advice that I know, having gone to the fairs themselves and having spoken to veterans attending them as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Gabby. I mean, we have some individuals, some job seekers that show up. They're there for our 11 o'clock kickoff speech right before we motivate them to get into the event. And then maybe at 11:15, we're seeing the same faces walking out the door. We kind of have that conversation like, hey, who'd you actually talk to today? You might have gone to like the big companies today who you wanted to speak to. Maybe you talked to one person, but you really don't know who has that job for you, right? So
absolutely,
like you mentioned, just don't do yourself the disservice, because you're there to network. That's
Yeah.
the big takeaway today. Talk to everyone you can talk to that day, and just make the best out of every one of those opportunities, and follow up with them. That's
Mhm.
so as an event director, I'm always alongside a DAV rep. A lot of the times is Jeremy, and we like really try to beat it into our messaging that, hey, you're here to network. Make sure to maintain that network by adding that individual on LinkedIn, or keeping up through email, just to make sure that relationship is maintained, and they know what you're looking for, and they're able to help you out, versus just walking in and maybe talking to literally one company, one or two representatives who might have a line out the door. During that time, you could have been talking to other company reps. So, and that goes outside of our job fairs. Make sure you use every single interaction to your advantage, because you really just don't know what the future holds, and who's going to be able to help you out, and vice versa as well. It's not only getting stuff from people. It's also what you can provide for others. This is a two-way street. So that's what networking is. So
Yeah, extremely beneficial relationships, and staying, and we're not saying you have to be extremely active online. I could probably use some posting on LinkedIn as much as I post on my socials, but
We all
the
can.
key takeaway is to stay connected, right? In whatever form it is, but get a point of contact, whether that's email. And we do have a question from Daniel here on LinkedIn that says, what should we do after we have initially connected and reach out afterward and they kind of go silent? How much should we press them to keep in touch, or should we just move on? Which is a great question, honestly. Do you have any insight, being an event director yourself, Raul, or yourself there, Jeremy?
When it comes to that, like how Raul was talking about, everyone's got a cell phone. At the events, we give out notebooks and pens to get that point of contact. A lot of times, they're not going to look at it for the first 48 to 72 hours. They're still traveling home. So give them a little bit of time, but it's always best to try to contact that person that you talk to, because they're going to remember that conversation you had. Now, a lot of times they're not the individuals that are going to make the decision, but they could possibly help with moving your resume along. Now, when it comes to that, make sure that you're writing that information down, getting a card, or having them scan your LinkedIn so then you can approve it and have that point of contact, because it's also going to grow that network and help you with moving forward with possible employment with that company.
Absolutely.
And even if it's not at a job fair, Daniel, like maybe a recruiter you've been talking to has gone, like you haven't heard from them in a while. Something I learned when I was transitioning out myself, and say I was just applying for a random job on the Armor, for example. I remember I was looking at a job listing, and what I went ahead and did was went on LinkedIn and looked at veterans who actually work for that company. So you don't tie a company to just one representative. You can do that through LinkedIn. Make sure when you're doing your research as to like who to contact, you can look for veterans and people who you have mutual connections with at specific companies on LinkedIn. So that might be a roundabout way of answering your question, but that's an alternative that you can do.
That's a big benefit with getting that premium access as that member that's getting off of active duty. You get that 1 year of premium access. You can see the individual that you talk to, but you can also see the individuals that are above them and below them, to be able to have that bigger network on getting a hold of somebody if you're having that problem with contacting that individual.
Precisely. Well, we've gotten so many great questions. We'll make sure to hit those in the chat, in the comments. But any last saved rounds from you all when it comes to networking? I know for me, it's just stay in touch in whatever method that may be, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's social media, whether it's through email, whether it's through text, or in person if you have that privilege of knowing that person face to face. What about y'all?
Yeah, my biggest one is the one that I harp on every single job fair. It's exactly yours. It's the follow up. So I met this person, whether outside a job fair, in a job fair, at a virtual job fair. Follow up, get that information, write it down, go home, message them. Hey, thank you for your time. great to meet you. Looking forward, to meeting again, or looking forward to future connections, future, events. So.
Definitely. I agree. Follow up is the primary one, but also remember there's multiple ways to network. We've talked about them, a few of them today, using your military network, using the network you have through your college. Chamber of Commerce is a good one for your local, and also networking through job fairs that we have, but also any other events that you have. Make sure that you're using your resources as much as you can to help you build that network and help you expand in the avenue that you're going for.
Fantastic. Well, Jeremy, thank you for coming today and imparting some valuable wisdom. We greatly appreciate it. And obviously, by the amount of engagement, our audience is greatly appreciative as well. Thank you, everyone that joined us for today's episode of Recruit Military Live. And we will see you next time.
Thanks for coming on, Jeremy. Thanks, everyone.
See you soon.